The verdict is in for the Washington versus Ali and Ali trial, where Ihsan Ali and Zahraa Ali have both been acquitted of attempted second-degree murder of their daughter Fatima Ali, leading back to the events that occurred on the 18th of October 2024. However, Ihsan Ali has been found guilty of the lesser included charges, including second-degree assault on Fatima Ali, fourth-degree assault on Isaiah Barnes, who it was her boyfriend, and unlawful imprisonment of Fatima Ali. But the mother, Zahraa Ali, has been acquitted of the lesser included charges, including second-degree assault on Fatima, unlawful imprisonment of Fatima Ali, not guilty of second-degree burglary, but she was found guilty of violating a trespass order. The jury took roughly 18 hours over the span of 3 days to reach their verdict, and on this video we shall be going through the theory of the case for both the prosecution and the defense, the key witnesses that aided with this theory for both the prosecution and the defense, and try to surmise how the jury may have reached its verdict. Welcome to Catch Up Court TV. Let's catch up with the Ali trial.
When you say they're rolling back, what do you mean by that?
They were rolling back in the...
Before we dive into the theories of the case, let's look at the key rulings that were made by the judge that shaped this entire trial. During the pre-trial, the prosecution tried to introduce evidence of an arranged marriage that was made by Ihsan Ali for Fatima Ali to be married to a man in Iraq. But the judge made an evidentiary ruling under Rule 403 that this cannot come in as it was too prejudicial to the Alis. During the trial, the prosecution tried to introduce evidence of CPS calls that was made to show that Fatima had a valid reason to be fearful of the family because there was violence going on in the home. So these previous CPS calls regarding the violence that was going on in the home were not allowed in under Rule 404B, which was prior crimes, and the judge deemed that this would be way too prejudicial for the Alis. I've done recaps on this where I've given my thoughts and opinions regarding these rulings. You can go check them out. They are in the description below. I'm not going to be going through them in this video. Now let's move on to the theories of the case. The prosecution through Olivier Zhu presented the theory that many bystanders were telling Ihsan Ali to get off Fatima as he was continuing to compress Fatima's neck until her eyes rolled into the back of her head. Her face turned purple until she had lost consciousness. They theorized that Zahraa Ali came in late and had put her arms on her daughter's neck rather than help her get out of the grip that her father had her in. They theorized that Fatima had run away from home and sought help from the school. The school had planned for her to go to a haven house, which is why she was boarding the bus that day before her dad had showed up. The state also theorized that Zahraa Ali had violated her trespass order that the school had set against her. The defense, through Eric Keating, who was representing Ihsan Ali, presented their theory of the case, saying that Fatima left home without letting anyone know, and they had plans to travel that day to Iraq, and she just took off. They had also called the police reporting she had run away. So he went to the school to see if she could come out, as he didn't know where she went. He theorized that the video evidence tells everything and there is no need to follow the testimony of the eyewitnesses that were on the scene. They theorized that Isaiah was the one that attacked Ihsan Ali and they fell to the ground, which caused injuries. The defense also presented their theory of the case through Tim Leary, who was representing Zahraa Ali, and he stated that Fatima said that she didn't think her mom was trying to hurt her to the police, but was trying to protect her. He theorized that the video evidence tells everything that everyone needs to know, and there's no need to follow the testimonies of the eyewitnesses and people that were there because they all have their own motives and their own feelings. He theorized that Fatima Ali had run away at 4 a.m. in the morning without telling her parents where she was going, and The parents were worried and they had traveled many miles looking for her when they realized that she was gone. He says that Zahraa had attempted to help her daughter and wasn't holding on to her neck, and says that this isn't attempted murder and was just trying to help our daughter. He theorized that Zahraa isn't guilty of trespassing the order because she wasn't an English speaker and she couldn't understand what was presented to her, and isn't guilty of all these charges.
When you say they're rolling back, what do you mean by that?
They were rolling back in the...
Now let's go on to the key witnesses for the prosecution case in chief. But before we do that, let's look at the foundational witnesses and the eyewitnesses that I believed were important to laying a foundation and presenting the prosecution's case. We heard testimony from Officer Hang, who was on the scene and saw a male subject being pinned to the ground by another male. The male subject was identified to be Ihsan Ali, and he also testified and said that he went to the Ali's residence earlier that day as they had reported Fatima Ali as a runaway. He says that he went to St. Peter's to speak with CPS and get a statement from Fatima, who is the victim, and transferred custody of Fatima to the CPS afterwards. He also said he served the protection order issued by Isaiah's dad against Zahraa Ali. We heard testimony from Mary Wagner, who was an eyewitness on the scene, who said that she had called 911 when she saw a fight break out, and said that the teenagers were hitting the man, trying to get him to stop choking her as he had his arms around her neck. We heard testimony from Officer Justin Beltran, who is a school resource officer, who testified to being present at the school nurse's office when they did an evaluation on Fatima after the incident, and had taken a statement from Isaiah and identified he had a bump on his head. We heard testimony from a minor named Eric, who was an eyewitness, who testified that Fatima and the older male were arguing, and later he had put her down onto the ground and began choking her, and Fatima's hands was flailing. He says that he was kicking the older male as well, and Zayla was yelling to call the cops, call the cops. Elijah, who is also a minor and an eyewitness at the scene, gave testimony that and says that he knew that Fatima and Isaiah were dating. He says that the older male was arguing with Fatima and he was hostile. He said that he had punched Isaiah and turned around and put Fatima in a headlock. He says that Fatima looked pale and lifeless. On day 3, we heard from another minor who goes by the name of Caleb. He was an eyewitness who testified to Fatima's face turning purple when she was being choked, and there was no movement at all from Fatima. We heard from Athena, who is another eyewitness and a minor as well, who testified that Fatima was turning pale and her eyes rolled backwards as she was being choked. She thought that she couldn't breathe and was going to die. We heard testimony from Synovia Rivas, who is a forensic nurse examiner who testifies to examining Fatima at 6 p.m. that day at the hospital. She said that Fatima had told her that her father had placed her in a headlock and she had lost consciousness. She said that her mom also had her in an headlock. She said that Fatima had pain on her left shoulder and hip. She also says that there were abrasions on Fatima's neck, and says that Fatima told her she thought she was going to die. She also said that Fatima had small red spots indicative of petechia, as is common in strangulation cases. We heard testimony from Lisa Wow, who is a family nurse practitioner at St. Peter's Hospital. She says that strangulations can lead to brain injuries, and she had made a diagnosis of pneumomenosteinem, which means air being found in a specific part of your lungs, which is essentially bad. She said that Fatima was still feeling pain in her shoulder, neck, and also her jaw weeks after the incident. On day 5, we heard testimony from Dr. Sung Won Kim, who was an otolaryngologist who examined Fatima to see if she needed further surgeries. He said that he feared surgery would cause further damage and opted for the pneumocystis to heal on its own. He also says that he recommended her not to eat or drink anything until the next morning, so that the condition doesn't get worse. We heard from Officer Tori Chavez, who was a patrol officer that day, testified to getting statements from people at the bus stop, and also spoke with Zahraa who told her that Isaiah was a danger to Fatima. She was recalled on day 7, where she presented a body cam of Zahraa and her daughter Anine at the school, and they were having a conversation wanting to go see the daughter. She said that Zahraa looked more worried about her husband during their interaction. We heard testimony from Officer Sean Bell, a police officer who responded to a call on the 18th of October with Officer Chavez, who he was training. He said that there was a handful of kids present and says that Zayla Ali was yelling, "This is my husband, leave him alone," and crying as he was being detained. On day 6, we heard from Sergeant Jeremy Knight, who testified to coordinating with CPS and Watkin County Office in connection with Zahraa Ali. He testifies to overseeing the custody transfer of Fatima Ali to CPS. He also says that he was requesting alerts to be placed by agents on the Ali family in case they traveled by air, sea, or land. Alicia Atwood, the school resource officer, testified to serving the trespass letter on the 17th of September 2024 to Zahraa Ali on behalf of the school, and this was due to Zahraa assaulting Isaiah. On day 7, Arthur Stanford, a police officer, testifies that Ihsan Ali was yelling at the officers whilst he was being arrested, but later became cooperative. He testifies that for someone to be listed as a runaway, the parents has to contact law enforcement and both must consent to them being put onto the system and to be listed as a runaway. Now, those are the foundational witnesses. Let's move on to the key witnesses that I believe aided with the prosecution case in chief. Let's start with John Denicola, who was a bus driver, and on day 1 he gave testimony saying that he had to completely abandon his route to go and help Fatima as he was seeing grown men fighting with students.
Confronted the man while he was on the ground holding the female student, and I told him, let her go. And I believe I said it probably 2 or 3 times, let her go.
And how did you say that?
I yelled it. I said, let her go, let her go.
And did he?
He did not.
So what happened next?
When he wouldn't let her go, I bent over, I reached, and I released his grasp. He was not letting go. I had to forcefully remove his grasp from her. As he was holding her, he was clutching his arm, and he was choking her. I noticed her eyes rolling into the back of her head. So what I did is I grabbed his hand and I pulled it off. Was able to spread his arms apart, and that's when she got free. Her eyes were rolling into the back of the head. She can tell she was not able to breathe. The look on his face and the way he was squeezing, he was choking her.
Videos were also submitted of the bus CCTV, which offered different vantage points, but we didn't get to see it because there were minors on the video. I feel like this testimony was key because it aided the prosecution in showing that substantive step that Ihsan Ali took with this attempted murder. That is an element that is required to prove it, because if he tried to release him from the grip and he just continued, this would be a step that he's taken to commit the crime. I believe he also helps in showing the extent of Fatima's injuries and why she would have got those injuries because of the changing colors of her face, and also with the eyes rolling into her back, it was likely that she could have died from this event. Josh Wagner, who was an eyewitness on the scene, gave testimony, and he says that he saw a grown man choking a young girl.
When you got closer, what did you see?
I seen a grown man choking a young teenage girl.
And you say choking, what does that mean to you?
He was on his back and had the young girl on top of him in a rear naked choke.
That is a pretty specific term. So tell me what you mean by that. Why do you use that term?
That's what I know it is called. He had his arm wrapped around her neck.
You observed him holding her in a rear naked choke. Is that a specific hold that you're familiar with based on your training?
Absolutely.
How long were you in the Army?
13 years.
When you saw the young female, how did she appear to you when you saw her?
Her face was changing colors when she was being choked.
What kind of colors? I mean, when you say that, what does that
She
mean
was
to you?
going to lose consciousness if it continued.
I felt like this testimony was really key because it showed that Ihsan Ali really had the intent to continue forward, and it showed that two men at this point were trying to restrain him from doing what he was doing. Therefore, he had the intent and he took that substantive step to commit this crime. Victor Barnes, who is the father of Isaiah, gave testimony and says that the relationship between Isaiah and Fatima wasn't entirely a new relationship. He also showed the restraining order that he had filed against Zahraa Ali at the request of Isaiah to stay away from Isaiah. On cross-examination, the defense highlights the punishments he will give to his kids.
So let me ask you this. When you parent your children, you have rules, right?
Yes,
Okay. And they're pretty set. The kids know what to do.
correct.
Okay. And if they break the rules, you punish them, right?
Depends.
Okay. So if they break the rules, what do you do if you don't punish them?
I asked them why they broke the rule.
Okay. And what if they don't have a good reason? Then do you punish them?
Depends on what their answer is.
Mr. Kading asked you questions about your parenting style and punishment and consulting with your wife. Do you talk to your kids?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how would you describe your relationship with your kids?
Pretty strong, pretty good.
You were aware at the time that Fatima was not supposed to date, and you were trying to keep the kids from dating. Tell me about that. What do you mean?
Well, at the beginning, they were just friends. And then I guess somewhere along the way, they began dating. Wasn't to my knowledge until they were a little while into dating. And I realized she wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. And I tried to, say, hey, let's not further this more than what it needs to be. If that's their rules, that's their rules. Let's not involve ourselves in that. But, the kids, so it's hard to, love is a strong thing when you're a child. And when you don't know no better, you sort of don't know no better. So that's sort of where we were coming from as parents. But as time went on, things got very strange, and into the incident on September 16th or 17th.
And again, without going into those details.
Yeah. So ensue that situation, then follow up a few weeks later. Policemen escort the parents to our home, looking for her when she wasn't there. Then follow up. Our son's being hit at school. So, yeah, and she's getting choked.
This testimony did help the prosecution because it shows that there was a possible intent from Ihsan Ali to do what he did that day, because it was established that she was not allowed to date, and it was already frowned upon that these two were actually dating. The next witness was Fatima Ali, who gave testimony on day 2, and her testimony ran onto day 3, and a bit more information was given about her home life and how she had moved to the US from Iraq at the age of 8. Testimony was also given on how she began doing online classes at home.
Tell your parents when you started dating or talking to Isaiah.
No.
And why not?
I was afraid.
Are you allowed to date?
No.
How old were you at the time?
17.
Ultimately, do you know if your parents found out you were dating?
Yes.
Okay. Who found out first?
My mom.
Did she tell you that she knew?
Yes.
When you moved to online school, was a reason given for why you're moving to online school to you?
To me?
Yes.
No.
When did you find out you were moving to online school?
When I met with the school, the principal.
Did you get to give your input as to online school?
I did.
Yeah, and what was your opinion?
I didn't want to go.
So who decided that you were going online?
My mom.
How did you find out about the trip?
I found out by my mom first.
Okay, and when you say you found out by your mom, what does that mean?
I overheard her conversation.
Talking to who?
My aunt.
How long did you know you were traveling back to Iraq before the incident we're going to talk about? Days, weeks, months, hours, something different?
Like a week or so.
Okay, what kind of information did they give you about the trip?
To pack a lot of clothes. More than at least 2 months.
Okay, so a couple of months.
Yes.
Did you have a round trip ticket or a one-way ticket?
One-way ticket.
Or did you engage back with him and speak back with him?
I talked back.
Okay. And what were you telling him?
I didn't want to go back home.
Was your dad aware that people were recording?
Yes.
And how do you know?
Because he told me.
You said he's smiling. Was it a happy smile?
No.
And tell me what you mean by that.
He looked mad while he was smiling.
And as this conversation is continuing, where is Isaiah?
Beside me.
Is he doing or saying anything?
Just comforting me.
And what does that mean when you say comforting me?
He was patting my back.
Did he comment at all about Isaiah patting your back?
Yes.
What did he say about Isaiah patting your back?
That he was getting really upset about it. He didn't say anything. I just knew that he looked really upset that I was standing by him.
And why were you going to the bus stop?
So I can get to the place where I can stay at.
Is this a non-profit location?
Yes.
She testified that the doctor also told her not to eat for 2 days when she went to the hospital after she had escaped her dad's strangulation. On cross-examination, it was intense as they highlighted that the online school was because she wasn't actually attending class. They also contended that the trip to Iraq was known by the mom and the school district.
You went to a meeting in the school district with your mom and your sister Haneen, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that meeting, it was decided that online school might be better for you. Is that right?
Can you repeat that for me?
At the meeting with the school district, it was decided that online school might be better for you. One of the reasons is because you were not attending in person.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the reasons you weren't attending in person was because you didn't get your 504 plan that you were talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you were decided to do online school so you could be at home and make sure that you did your work, right?
I didn't decide.
Okay, but that's what was the decision that was made between your mother and the school district.
Yes.
Okay. And we talked about you going to Iraq, right?
Yes.
And wasn't one of the things discussed at your meeting with the school district and your mother, your travel to Iraq?
It wasn't with the school district.
Pardon me?
It wasn't with the school district.
When we were talking, you said that you were going to be changing schools and you had trouble with attendance at Timberline. You said yes, right? Your next answer was not just that, it was also to go to Iraq. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, you were changing schools, going online because of attendance problems.
Yes.
You were also going to attend school from Iraq online, right?
I'm kind of confused here.
Okay. What's confusing? I asked you, did you talk about doing school in Iraq?
I didn't talk to the school district. I talked it with my mom.
Okay. And you discussed doing school online with her
Yes. And
so that you could do that while you were in Iraq
yes.
for an extended period of time.
Yes.
So you knew about the trip to Iraq.
Not at that moment.
You talked about it doing school in Iraq, but you didn't know about the trip to Iraq.
Not at that moment. I didn't know what day.
Okay, you didn't know the exact day,
Yes.
but you knew the trip was planned.
Yes.
Okay. You decided that you didn't want to go to Iraq, right?
Yes.
Prior to that point, at 4 o'clock in the morning on the day you were scheduled to leave, you had not discussed that with your parents, had you?
I did not discuss that.
And you didn't discuss that with anyone?
Yes.
Didn't discuss it with Haneen,
I did not.
or your mother,
Yes.
or your father?
Yes.
Okay. You said earlier in your testimony that you found out from you overheard your mother talking with your aunt about going to Iraq.
Yes.
When was that?
I don't know what day.
Okay. Was that before the online school or after the online school?
I'm not sure.
You indicated that when you skipped class and such, you stayed at the school?
Yes.
Is that every time?
Yes.
Okay, on January 25th, 2024, 9:07 in the morning, that's a Tuesday, you were not at school, were you?
I don't remember that.
You were at Safeway? You remember that day?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you skipped school that day, you were at the Safeway?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't always stay at school when you skip school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Overall, I felt like this testimony was really key for the prosecution and aided with their theory of the case because it highlights that the home life was not a safe environment for Fatima. This testimony also goes against the idea that the defense was trying to present to the jury that she was a truant, because it shows clearly that the school was helping Fatima seek refuge. I also felt like they made good use of the Iraq testimony because they got into evidence that it was a one-way ticket there. On cross-examination, the defense kind of aided their theory a little bit by showing that she was actually a truant and she was defying her parents' orders despite there being a plan set for her to go to Iraq. And also the defense brought up the previous truancy that she had, which didn't help the prosecution case at all in proving that this would be intent. Zayla was a minor and also an eyewitness of the fight, and she gave testimony and says that she knew Fatima and says that the father had grabbed her and when she was trying to walk away. She testifies that Fatima's mom was trying to help her husband as she was grabbing Fatima and when she tried to get away. This witness aided the state with their fear of the case because it shows Zahra's involvement with this attempted murder. Isaiah, the son of Victor Barnes and the boyfriend of Fatima Ali, gave testimony about dating Fatima for 9 months and knowing her for at least 2 years, saying that their relationship was largely a secret. He testifies to robbing Fatima's back when her dad came up to her and confronted her.
Like he starts to get more aggressive, and we see the bus, so I try to push her a little bit so we could get ready to go, and then he grabs her, and I look back up at him, and then he punches me, and then for a second, I don't know what happened for a second, and then I see him grab her, and they had got to the ground.
And when you say he punched you, I just want to make sure we're using the same, everyone understands what you mean. Is that with an open hand, closed fist, or something else?
Closed fist.
And throughout this time, are his arms still on her neck?
Yes, ma'am.
During this time, could you see Fatima?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. And how did Fatima appear to you?
Her face was looking pale, and her eyes were starting to roll back.
Her eyes were rolling back?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say they're rolling back, what do you mean by that?
They were rolling back in the...
Do you want to take a break?
I'm going to ask the bailiffs to come forward.
At first, she was trying to fight it, and then she kind of just her arms kind of just frizzed out a little bit, and then she just went limp.
So she was trying to fight it, then she frizzed out, her arms were moving around for a second, and then you said she just went limp.
Yes, ma'am.
When she went limp, were her dad's arms still around her neck?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Fatima speak with you in her normal voice or anything like that you remember while her mom had her around the throat?
No, other than I can't breathe. And I believe that she was still in shock, and that feeling someone's arms around her neck was...
So when you say I can't, she said no, something like I can't breathe. Was it in her normal voice, a different voice, or is that an assumption or something you heard, or what does that sound like?
It was more she scratched it out of her throat, it was like a cough almost. It was she couldn't really make it out.
And was that when she was standing up when you previously described, or down on the ground with her mom?
Down on the ground with her mom.
Overall, I felt like Isaiah's testimony was impactful and scored a lot of points for the prosecution, as he gave a detailed account of what the mother was doing on the scene and the part that she had to play. He also showed why the father would have got mad at Fatima, because he knew that the bus was coming and she was going to get onto that bus to leave. This adds to the intent element for the prosecution, because as she got on that bus, the plans would have been foiled. I also felt that on redirect, where they had cleared up that the school had set up all of these things to help Fatima, would really help to show that the home life that she was coming from was chaotic, and these two needed to leave to that safe haven. So I felt like without this being introduced, that the intent elements would have been very difficult for the jury to grapple, and I think that this evidence made it easier. Dr. Joyce Gilbert, who is a pediatrician who treated Fatima on the 19th of October, gave testimony, and she testified to how strangulation has a high likelihood to cause brain death, and if it happens for long periods of time. She highlighted also that Fatima's age and weight has a big part to play on how she is injured. She testifies that Fatima could have had a seizure due to the strangulation.
Earlier, right before I paused the video, we see an individual that is lying on the ground with their left arm extended. Did you see that?
I did.
And when you observed, based on your training experience, the movement of that left arm, what did that appear was happening to that person?
That looked like a seizure of the left arm.
Okay, and what about the movement of the left arm makes you say that it looked like a seizure?
It was sustained rhythmic movement without a purpose. So the muscles of that left arm kept contracting and relaxing, contracting and relaxing, but she wasn't conscious at this point in time, and she wasn't trying to do something with that arm. So it's that rhythmic motion without purpose that appears to be a seizure.
He also testified that Fatima had symptoms of hyperventilation when she was seen at St. Peter's Hospital. On cross-examination, the defense focused on alternative causes of injuries on Fatima, including falling onto a tree branch, which she did accept. I felt like this was the best medical testimony of them all because it really highlighted the murder elements of all of this, that there was a real likelihood that she was going to die, and the highlight of the possible seizure that she was going through being aided with the video shows that it was likely that she was actually going to die this day. It also helped corroborate a lot of the eyewitnesses' testimony in regards to Fatima being lifeless and limp, because you can only get that if there is a lack of brain activity, and the seizure really aids with this understanding. Elizabeth Robinson, who is a Timberlane High School counselor, gave testimony and says that she was the youth coordinator and had set up a place for her with a bed that she could go and stay. And she was to see her at the school at 9:30 a.m. to confirm all of this.
Based on your observations of her, did she appear calm to you?
No.
Okay, and what was her demeanor like?
She was staggering, and her demeanor was scared or anxious.
Okay, and what did you observe that made you think that she was scared and anxious?
It was the way she was walking.
Okay. And then with regards to when she made that comment, what did her voice sound like?
She sounded really upset.
Okay. And what comment did she make when she staggered into the front office?
He tried to kill me.
Okay. And do you know whether at some point the school was placed on lockdown?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what is a lockdown?
A lockdown is when all of the doors are locked and no one can come in and no one can leave.
Okay.
On cross-examination, she says that she didn't call law enforcement when Fatima came to see her, and on redirect, she said that she reported to the school resource officer instead. Overall, the impact of this testimony could be felt as it showed the real concern that the school counselors have had for the safety of Fatima. But I also felt like the defense used this witness to try and say that the school should have contacted the Alis to let them know that they were doing all of this. Celeste Waltemeyer, who was an assistant principal at the school, who testified to issuing the trespass letter to Zahraa Ali on the 17th of September 2024, based on the events of the 16th of September 2024, where Zahraa and Isaiah had got into an altercation. She also testified that Zahraa never indicated to her that she didn't understand the order that she was given. On cross-examination, the defense asked questions regarding who the school would contact in runaway cases.
student comes to school and says, I'm running away, I don't want to go home, is the school going to call the parents and say, your child is here, I understand he or she may have run away, but I want you to know that your child is at school? Would you tell the parents? And I thought your answer was no, but if I'm wrong, let me know.
There's multiple reasons where we wouldn't, like if there was a safety concern for that student, if a student is expressing that they don't want to go home, they don't feel safe to go home, something happened, we are going to call CPS and or law enforcement, whichever would be most appropriate, or both sometimes, and have them intervene and take it over at that point.
Okay, so I think we're on the same page. So you're not going to notify the parents unless the child says, yeah, you can let mom and dad know I'm okay, but you're not going to immediately pick up the phone and say, just so you know, your runaway child is at school, correct?
Not completely correct. I think it's dependent on scenarios that's happening with the student and what they're saying.
Okay. And then yesterday you talked about you would reach out to CPS, and you just repeated right now, you would reach out to CPS and to law enforcement if the child student expressed safety concerns, correct?
Yes.
Okay. On the 18th, she makes an application to have her daughter transfer to North Thurston, correct?
I don't know if she made the application there. I think she got the denial letter at that point.
Okay. Do you know when the request was made?
I don't.
And do you know why it was denied?
Due to space for that grade level.
Did you speak to the district officials about her request to have Fatima transfer to North Thurston?
Yeah. So when there's an appeal, I believe Miss Ali appealed to the assistant superintendent, and that Miss Scrubs reached out to me about that appeal.
And were you supportive of the transfer?
I wanted Fatima to stay at Timberline High School.
Okay.
That was my preference. Okay.
This witness only aided with the trespass order, but it was, in my opinion, more beneficial for the defense in proving their theory of the case, that the parents were only acting the way that they did because they were not being filled in on what was going on, and they were basically in panic mode. I felt like the defense really capitalized on this witness by showing that there was an attempt to actually get her out of the school to another school before they even gone to the alternative of an online school. This shows that they were actually taking steps to at least remove her from the school, because they felt likely, I don't know for sure, but likely they felt that Fatima was not doing well in the school because of the relationship with Isaiah. I also felt like their questions to the principal was basically trying to suggest that all of this would have been avoided if the school had just contacted the parents and let them know where Fatima was going. Tracey Arnold, who was a student assistant professional, gave testimony, and she testified to Fatima coming in on the 18th of October looking frail and really skinny. She testifies that Zahraa Ali came in yelling, "Where is my daughter?" but didn't ask regarding her condition.
You described her as appearing terrified and in fear and in pain. What does that look like physically?
Yeah, it's mostly the expression on her face. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry.
That's okay. What does that look like?
Like her face was scrunched up, maybe a little bit red. It's really hard to describe fear.
You said she was saying something at the time. What was she saying at the time?
She was yelling to her best ability. She was saying, "He tried to kill me. My dad tried to kill me. He was choking me."
I felt like this witness was really useful for the defense because it shows the extent of her injuries and the effects that the injuries had caused on her. It also shows why she would have those symptoms that she had when she went to the hospital, and why she would be out of breath. And really and truly, it shows why this whole ordeal has been taxing for her. Now let's move on to the defense, and to be honest, they only had one witness to testify, and that was mainly it. The only witness that they had to present was Dr. Jennifer Stankus on day 4, who was an emergency physician, and she was presented as an expert witness. She basically gave testimony that the diagnosis of pneumomoniasinum was not that serious and could go away in less than 24 hours and wouldn't have led to lasting effects or cause permanent injuries. On cross-examination, she was asked whether choking for a child was worse than for an adult. She also says that the condition could result in death if the patient had it, and at her hospital they wouldn't actually turn away but try to treat the condition. And on recross, she testifies that strangulation can kill. In my opinion, I believe that this testimony did help the defense in showing that no murder could have occurred, because no serious injuries was actually possible from the condition that she had, and there was no serious injuries on Fatima that day. Now for my final thoughts on why the jury possibly reached this verdict. I really felt like the prosecution did all they could to prove their case, and it remains to be seen whether the honor killing coming in would have made a difference, whether the arranged marriages coming in would have made a difference. But I still feel like there were other ways in which the prosecution could have actually proved the intent element that they had to prove, the substantive step that they had to prove. I think that they did an okay job in presenting this to the jury. I think it was a great move by the prosecution to even highlight that there was a disapproval of the relationship between Isaiah and Fatima. This really helped with the intent element. But it's just likely that the jury didn't buy this, because they just felt maybe that Fatima had exaggerated her home life to the school to just continue being with Isaiah. The defense already put it into their minds that she was a truant and she wasn't really listening to the home rules, hence the relationship that they had. They probably viewed that and thought, yeah, this girl would likely do whatever she can to get her way. I felt like the defense focus on Fatima being a truant really paid off, because the facts were not all in evidence that she wasn't a truant. I mean, if we look at the CPS, you know that she wasn't a truant because there were previous CPS calls being made. But that's us. We know the facts that were not allowed in. The jury doesn't know this. The defense really going in on this fact that she was just a truant, and also bringing up the previous truancies that she had with the school, in my opinion, just remove the intent element, and it just paints the parents as they were just trying to find out where the daughter was. And I felt like this decision reflected with the second degree assault charge, because end of the day, what he did, they know that it was really bad, but they felt like he didn't have that intent to go out to kill the daughter, that he was just angry that she was defying them again and breaking their rules again, like she has done in the past. I really do think that the jury believed that the school really erred by not contacting the parents to let them know that the daughter had run away. They have heard evidence that they tried to transfer schools, and the school had a strong preference for her to stay in the school, even though they know that, yeah, there wasn't enough space to transfer her to another school. They felt like because they had this preference for her, it's likely that they were just biased for her, and they really believe whatever she was trying to tell her. Yeah, they said that she was fearful at home, but they probably felt like she was only fearful because she knew what she was doing was wrong and breaking one of the parents' rules. I also believe that the jury likely thought that Fatima and Isaiah had really colluded together to come up with this, to go to the school and try to say, look, the home life is not great. The parents are doing XYZ to her, etc. So they did all this so that they can continue on with their relationship. They probably didn't believe that it was a one-way ticket that they bought. I personally felt that this was probably a prosecution failing here in not introducing that ticket to really show that it was one way, because then it goes into, well, how do you know it was one way when you've already gone with your parents to Iraq before. So what do I think of the jury verdict? In all honesty, I respect it. I actually respect it based on the evidence presented in front of them. I do not blame them at all. I really do think that Ihsan got away with one here. I felt like the intent element was not proven for them, because they might be thinking, what was the intent here that both these parents would set out as accomplice and as murderers to go out and kill the daughter? What intent is there? Yeah, we agreed that it's assault. Yeah, he definitely assaulted her. But what is the intent that he actually went out of his way to do this? I think that this was a failing of the prosecution, because they didn't really introduce enough witnesses to actually prove the intent part. They did enough to prove that she could have died, and I do think that helps them a little bit. But the part that they have to get through is the substantive step and the intent that the father had to kill the daughter, and I don't think they cleared that. I think that the prosecution really tried to show that the disapproval between Isaiah and Fatima was enough intent. I think that they really thought they had this case in the bag, but I do think that there was a lot of bad facts brought out for Fatima. The fact that they also got to hear that the parents had set up a call to report her as a runaway that same day, I think shows that they were actually afraid to lose the daughter, at least in their eyes. But I'm not a professional. I'm not a medical professional. I do think that the particular was enough. I do think that the fact that he was choking her and not letting go despite multiple people going on her, I think that's intent enough. But maybe they were looking for, yeah, we need to see the intent from home. And I do believe that if the parents did not make a call to the police to list her as a runaway, I do really believe that the jury may have bought the intent part, because they would just thought, damn, she is going off with Isaiah again. Because they heard testimony from Isaiah's mom saying that Isaiah is bad for her and this and that. It would have compounded without that call being in place. And I think that that's what the jury likely had leaned on for. This cannot be parents that set out to murder their child. Yeah, gross and an excessive way of punishing her, which is why they found that the father was guilty of unlawful imprisonment. But I think that the intent part was really negated when you look at the fact that she was listed as a runaway, the fact that there was previous truancy being introduced, the fact that they tried to move her away from the school. It just takes away all that intent, that even with them doing that, they still went ahead and thought she's running away again. So let's actually report it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this. If you've made this far, you are a true catch-upper. Make sure that you like this video and also share this video with your friends. Let them know that we give you the full recaps of the important trial and analysis here on Catch Up Court. Now for this case, this was only attempted murder, but how about the case that they actually successfully gone through a whole murder and massacred the in-laws to try and cover it up? I have covered the sentencing trial of the Shelby Needy case. Might be very interesting for you. Go check that out. Without further, I go by the name of Hines, and this has been The Catch Up.